Hi, my name is Bente and today's topic is a quite controversial one, and that is blood and the use of blood in magic and ritual and as a sacrifice and so on and so on. I already know that I will probably get nasty comments on this video because I've literally just mentioned a small little blood offering in one video once, and I already got a comment literally saying I'm advertising self-harm, which is ridiculous. I would never do that. So before I even start the video, let me just get that straight. I'm definitely not advertising self-harm in this video. I have my own very long, fair share of history with self-harm, and I have luckily gotten over it. But still, it's like if you struggled with that in your life, then you know that it's a lifelong struggle. It's nothing that you just get rid of and then it's that. It's like basically like any other addiction. So I'm definitely not advertising self-harm. Definitely not. But I will get into that later, where I talk about who should not do blood magic. So yeah, just be aware that I am definitely not advertising self-harm. I would never want anyone to self-harm because it's awful. I know it. So please refrain from comments like that. Definitely not necessary. But if you want to leave a nasty comment, either way, it boosts the algorithm. So go for it. Oh, and by the way, I am in this video only talking about using your own blood. Not animal blood, not other people's blood, nothing like that, because that's nothing that I would feel comfortable doing ever. So I won't be talking about consent and things like that, because yeah, I'm only talking about using your own blood, and you probably know if you consent to it or not. So if you're looking for like ritual consent and topics like that, that's not something that we will find in the video, because I don't want to talk about slaughtering animals or sharing the blood or doing blood pacts with other people or things like that. No. This video is only about using your own blood. And with that, of course, trigger warning. Like if you are triggered by talks about blood, I won't show blood in the video, so no danger there. But I know there are people who are already uncomfortable with talking about blood, so if you are, or you could potentially get triggered by it, then just skip the video. Totally fine. I wouldn't want to trigger anyone, or I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. So if you are not comfortable with talking about blood, then just skip the video. And yeah, that being said, in the hopes that YouTube won't demonetize the video, let's start. So, as I already said, let us first talk about who should or shouldn't work with blood. As I already said, if you have a history of self-harm and working with blood could trigger that, then definitely don't draw any blood. If you still want to work with blood, then maybe if you are at least comfortable with seeing blood without it triggering you, then you could work with your period blood instead. But of course, definitely don't draw any blood then. Of course, if you are a hemophiliac, of course don't. Like, that should be a given. I guess you know that. If you're a hemophiliac, then you probably know that you shouldn't hurt yourself and draw blood. So definitely don't. And I mean, of course, if you can't see blood, if you faint whenever you see blood, then don't do that. So you probably know if you feel fine using blood or not, but I wanted to like preface this. Like if it could trigger you, if you could faint, if it's actually dangerous for you to draw blood, then definitely don't do that, or just work with your period blood instead, which I will get into later. You can use it sometimes as a stand-in for like normal blood that you would draw from your body. In my personal opinion, it is not equal at all times, like not for all purposes, but I will get into that later. First of all, let's talk about why you would even want to work with blood and for what. So, first of all, why? Blood is literally your life energy. If you didn't have blood, you would die. If you lose too much blood, you die. So blood is extremely, extremely important. It's your life energy. It contains your DNA. It's extremely important. So that is why, of course, it can boost any magical practice. It makes a good offering and a good sacrifice. You can do a lot of things with it because of that. But that's basically the gist of it. It's your life's energy, your DNA. It's very, very important for your body. You literally die without it. And usually if you don't work with period blood, then it also usually is a sacrifice in itself to hurt your body to draw the blood. So that is like my personal why. And because of that, first of all, it makes an awesome offering to deities and to various different kinds of spirits. Of course, not for any deity and any spirit. Of course, probably look into the deity or the spirit that you want to give an offering to first before you decide if you want to use blood or not. But for a lot of deities and spirits, it's a great offering. For example, war-related deities, death-related deities, for example, that would make a great offering for them. Ancestral spirits, of course, but local spirits also seem to really love that. Nature spirits sometimes too, like plant spirits, sometimes even use your own brain to think about if it makes sense for a specific deity. Because, for example, like if you would want to give an offering to a fertility deity related to childbirth or any matters like that, then maybe using your period blood as an offering would make, for example, much more sense than drawing your own blood. Or if you would offer something to a very peace-related deity, then maybe drawing your blood is not the best offering idea. But usually for a lot of deities and spirits, it's a great offering. And in my opinion, that's the case because, one, what do deities and spirits not have? A physical body. They are not incarnate in this world. They maybe were, for example, ancestral spirits were once humans. But apart from that, like, they don't have a human body, so they usually desire physical things because they can't have it. And of course, blood being your life energy, of course, that's very, very desirable to them because it's physical life energy. That is something that they don't have and that they can't achieve or can't get themselves. So that's why I personally see it as an awesome offering. Also, the act of drawing blood itself, it hurts the body, usually a little bit of fear is involved, it weakens your body. So in my experience, that in itself is a great sacrifice. At least for me it always is, because I've done that quite a few times now. It still instills a little bit of fear in me every single time. So I feel like also the tiny bit amount of pain that's involved, it makes a great sacrifice. And that is where I would draw the line also between offering and sacrifice, because I feel like a sacrifice is something where you're giving something up or something hurts you to give away. So for example, if you would think of offerings to deities like 1,000 years back, if people were sacrificing animals, that was much, much more impactful to them than for us giving an offering of some food. Because for them, their cattle, for example, was literally their source of income and food. So sacrificing that was a huge deal. And nowadays, it's like most of the offerings we give, it's not that much of a deal. Like if I spend some money on some food or some meat or something, that's not that big of a deal. But if I prick my finger and there's fear involved and I'm literally weakening my own body, that makes it a great sacrifice in my opinion. And that's where I also would personally draw the line a little bit between drawing blood and using period blood. Because if you think of period blood, well, period blood is great and there's nothing shameful about it. It is literally your body's trash. It's your uterus lining that isn't used because you're not pregnant. So your body sheds it because it doesn't need it anymore. So it's basically trash, and trash doesn't make a good sacrifice or offering in my personal opinion. As I said, for a fertility deity or a deity that's that's connected to childbirth or things like that, makes a whole lot of sense. But for example, I personally would not give my period blood as an offering to Odin. I would definitely draw blood and give that to Odin, because I feel like period blood just isn't a sacrifice and he's not related to like fertility or childbirth or anything like that. I definitely feel like as a war god, drawing blood for him would make much more sense than using period blood. But people are different, that's just my opinion. In the end, you just have to figure out what the deity or spirit in question likes. So maybe just try it and then see what the reaction is. But enough about offerings and sacrifices. Next up, charging items. Again, your blood is your life energy. It includes so much energy, like it's so powerful in itself that it of course makes a great tool for charging items. So for example, something that's also historical is, for example, charging your runic talismans or amulets with blood. That is something that has been done also in pre-Christian Scandinavia. That's something that we see reflected in the sagas. You can do it also with other items, but for runes, definitely I know that that was a thing, like historically speaking. But you can charge other amulets or talismans or your candles or basically any spell with your blood, because yeah, it includes your life's energy, so it definitely boosts any magical working in which you add it. I also see it, for example, if I charge a bind rune or a sigil with my blood, which I love doing. I personally also see it as awakening the spirit of that item. So that already goes a little bit into the direction of consecration, but when I, for example, charge a bind rune with my blood, I definitely feel like the spirit of this bind rune or the sigil is being awakened. I've literally given it my life energy, so I have awakened it with my life energy. You could also do it in other ways by blowing on it, for example, but I feel like giving blood to it, it also feeds it, like it's kind of the first offering to the spirit while also awakening it, so it's kind of 2 in 1, so that's why I love it. The consecration part, again, life energy, but also your blood includes your DNA. So if you consecrate something with your blood, you are creating a very strong bond between you and the tool. That's why I, for example, recently made an oil for consecration that includes herbs that were important to the Germanic tribes and to the pre-Christian Scandinavian people. But apart from that, it was meant to also include your DNA. So I definitely like to put a drop of blood into that oil and then to use that oil to consecrate items. You could of course also just use your blood, but if you don't want like your blood being on the item because it's maybe white or something, especially if it's like maybe ritual clothing, then maybe do it in another way. But I really like to use that oil that includes my blood because yeah, it includes my energy and my DNA, so it creates a great bond between me and the tool. And for example, for rune sets, again, that's also historically accurate to consecrate your runes with blood. Lastly, while we are already talking about DNA, of course, blood makes an amazing tag lock. What's a tag lock? If you don't know it yet, a tag lock is something that you can add to a spell that creates a bond between the person and the spell. So it could also be just a paper with your name and maybe your address and your birth date or something. It could be hair or fingernail clippings, anything that includes your DNA. But since blood, of course, includes your life energy and your DNA, it makes a very, very powerful tag lock. So if you want to bind a spell to yourself, a love spell or something like a self-love spell or a healing spell or something, I don't know. If you want to bind a spell to yourself, adding your blood to it makes it an amazing tag lock. So if it's something where it's safe to use blood, then why not use it as a tag lock? Enough about the why and what, let's get into the how. First of all, of course, safety measures, which if you use your period blood, of course, a lot of these safety measures don't apply anymore, but I still want to get into them because, of course, not everyone wants to use period blood. That's kind of a controversial topic in itself. Like, people disagree a lot with each other when it comes to drawing blood or period blood which of them is disgusting, which isn't, and which is okay to use and which isn't, and I don't really want to get into it. But safety measures. So first of all, we want to keep everything nice and clean, because if you get bacteria into your bloodstream, which is possible if you prick your finger, for example, that can potentially get very, very dangerous. You don't want blood poisoning or anything like that. So basically sanitize everything that could get in contact with the wound. So if you want to use a needle, for example, to prick your finger, sanitize that needle very, very thoroughly. Your whole working area, sanitize the working area before and after. Sanitize the body part. If you prick your finger, sanitize the body part, the finger, afterwards, so that really no bacteria can get into the wound. That is so, so important. All right, then apart from, of course, sanitizing everything, keeping everything clean, never share blood with other people, never mix your blood with other people, never like do a blood bond thing where you mix your blood. Never drink other people's blood, never smear your blood on other people, or let other people smear their blood on you. Like, just don't come in contact with other people's blood, because there are so many diseases that are contracted by blood, and you definitely would not want to get those. So just stay safe. Don't mix your blood with other people, please. Also, don't draw too much blood. There is really no need to do it like the people in the movies, slitting their hand with a big rusty kitchen knife or anything like that. You don't need to do that. 1 drop of blood or 2 is usually more than enough. 1 drop is usually all that you need. So that's why I personally really like to use single-use diabetes lancets, because 1, they come already sanitized. They only make a cup, very, very, very tiny pinch into your finger, where you usually get 1 or 2 drops of blood, depending on how big the lancet is. There are different sizes. So they are very safe to use, and you don't have to think really about how to dispose of them. Because if you want to dispose of any tools that have your blood on them, or that are sharp because you cut yourself with it, you have to be really, really aware of how you dispose of those things. But if you use these single-use lancets, they are usually made in a way that if you poke your finger with it, the lancet quickly pricks your finger, it shoots out, pricks your finger, and goes back into the tube, basically, and stays there. So you can very, very easily dispose of them without running the risk of someone getting in contact with it, hurting themselves with it, and then getting in contact with your blood, which would be very unsafe. Single-use diabetes lancets are awesome for that. And yeah, I already said it, please don't use like a dirty old kitchen knife or like a precision knife or anything like that, because those things, 1, could be very, very dirty. Even if you sanitize them, they could still be very, very dirty, and you could very much hurt yourself a lot. And as I said, you don't need a lot of blood. There's no need to like take a big knife and cut yourself with it. It could very much hurt you badly. Witchy advice: if you store your blood somewhere, especially if you use your period blood, you usually store it somewhere, like you put it in your freezer or somewhere. Don't let people get it, because of course, as I said, it's a very, very strong tag lock. And if you have people maybe that don't want the best for you, and they can get your blood, if it's like in your freezer or somewhere, they can of course take it and do any kinds of mischief with it. And they could use it to curse or hex you. Hopefully, people who would want to curse or hex you don't run around in your house and then usually don't get to your blood in your freezer, but just be aware of that, okay? I just wanted to mention it because it is such a strong tag lock. And yeah, now that we have talked about the whole safety measures, how do you use it? There is really no one true way to do it, because it's extremely personal, but usually it's extremely simple. Like if I, for example, wanted to charge something with my blood, I would just, as I said, take 1 of these single-use diabetes lancets, prick my finger with it very, very shortly, very, very quickly, and then put this 1 drop of blood on the thing that I want to charge, then I would either say something to it or I would chant over it. I would speak an incantation, something like that, and that's about it. And like, of course, like sanitize everything that I said previously, all of the safety measures taken aside. I basically use it like an oil. If you would use an intention oil, how would you use it? Would you add it, for example, to a candle and say your intention while you do it? Then you can do the same thing with blood. There's no like special way to work with blood. You can work with it like you would with any other ingredient in a spell. And as I already said, for consecration, I really like to use my new consecration oil, which might already and might still be in the shop. My oils are usually gone pretty quickly, so I don't know when I will manage to upload everything for a new drop. But yeah, if you're interested, you can check out my shop. If it's not on the website at all, then I haven't had a shop update yet. Yeah, that is how I like to consecrate things with blood, but of course you can do it exactly the same way as you would with charging things, like putting a drop of blood on something and then saying something, chanting something, saying an incantation, anything like that. When it comes to offerings and things, I usually do it outside because I would personally feel a little bit weird like smearing my blood on like my deity statues or something, because of course then at some point they will get very dirty and disgusting. So I like to give blood offerings outside because then I can just prick my finger and then like squeeze a drop of blood out of my finger, let it drop to the ground, and that's about it. And then I would of course say something about why I'm doing that, as I would with any other offering. There's really nothing special about using blood apart from the reason why you do it and the safety measures that come with it. That's about it. If you have any other questions about using blood, or if you have any other things that you maybe would want other people to know about, then put those thoughts in the comments, as always. But now it's time for a patron shout out. Thank you so much for your support to Lisa, Brittany, Sean, Emre, Celine, Smolkata, Josh, Virginie, Joseph, Eleonora, David, Christine, Rixie Business, Valo, Annalena, Bast, Kirby, Ashley, Erica, Glacier, Tia, Fabienne, Anna, Laura, Kristen, John, Phoenix, Anton, Jenny, Maggie, Misty, Amy, Colette, Timothy, Coffee, or the honorary Gossip Squirrel, and lastly, Bjorn. Thank you so much again. It really means a lot to me. As always, I really hope you liked this video and you didn't think it was disgusting or anything like that. If you did like it, make sure to subscribe and give a thumbs up. And ring the bell down below so that you get notified whenever I upload a new video, because the subscription box doesn't seem to be too reliable these days. Of course, you can check out my other socials or my online shop, especially for the consecration oil. And if you want to support me, then of course you can check out my Patreon. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!